Hi everybody. I know a lot of people are having problems with recall, whether your dog is old or young, and it's pretty natural that just like any young person, we start not paying attention to what our parents are saying. So I'm going to try and rattle through this quite quickly and explain the way that I train recall and pretty much any other behaviour. It's about conditioning, specifically what's called operant conditioning. So if somebody, what happens most of the time is that people will be calling their dogs by their names. They'll be calling it all sorts of different in pitches, like Caesar, Caesar, come on, Caesar, 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 come on. And they're jamming their hands around and they're being crazy, and it's not being consistent or specific. And you're also, when you're doing that, is you're conveying different tones and emotions to the dog. So the dog is hearing that you're anxious, that you're pleading, that you're desperate, that you're angry, that you're frustrated, that you're just about to throttle them. And it just makes him think, well, why the hell should I come back, really? Because you're not very appealing, and actually the people across the other side of the park with their dogs or their horses or a bunch of sheep are far more appealing. So what we're going to do is you are going to train your dogs to come back to a specific sound. So much the same way that Pavlov, the Austrian scientist, when he rang his bell, the dog salivated automatically. That's called a conditioned response. And he did that by consistently feeding the dog for 28 days, because that's as long as it takes to produce muscle memory and make brain synapse connections. And what he did every time he fed the dogs is he rang a bell. It was his unique sound. And every time he rang the bell, he fed the dog. So the dog learned to salivate, which is an automatic response for amylase production in the mouth, for example. But doing this uses, in very simplistic terms, it uses the dog's hindbrain instead of his forebrain. His forebrain is the rational thought process. Shall I, shan't I? No, I don't think so today. Whereas the hindbrain is an instinctive response. So for example, when somebody holds their hand out to you to offer a shake of the hand, your automatic response is to do the same back. When somebody reaches out for a cup of tea because they're thirsty, it's a conditioned response. It's not necessarily something that's conscious in the forebrain. So how to do this? Well, there's two aspects. The first is actually training the brain, if you like, and the second is your body language, and I mustn't forget, because that's really very important. The first way we're going to do this is that you're going to choose a new noise. You're going to choose a sound. Now, my sound has historically been a very loud whooping, and by the way, I don't care if I make a fool of myself, because if I'm not prepared to make a fool of myself, my dog will do it for me. So when I'm out in the park or in the fields here, my sound is a very loud siren call. And obviously a siren is really useful in nature. It's a bit of an alarm call. So mine is whoop, whoop, whoop. And my dogs usually come running. But we're not doing that today. We're just lying on the couch, completely ignoring me, which is fine. Anyway, so what I started doing was I started doing this with puppies a number of years ago, that I thought, if I could produce puppies that were conditioned to a particular sound, the new owners would have their recall sound sorted out pretty quickly. And actually, your breeders all pretty much do that by calling puppy, puppy, puppy every time they're putting their food down. So it's exactly the same process, but maybe just a different sound would be helpful to you when you're in the park. So I want you to choose something that's unique, not the dog's name and not anything that you've used before. So another really good one is here. I would recommend that you don't use a whistle. And the reason that I suggest not to use a whistle is two things. First of all, everybody in the park has a whistle. And secondly, if you happen to forget your physical whistle, you are not going to be able to whistle when you're under panic. If your dog's running towards the road or whatever, you're not going to be able to whistle. Your throat literally constricts, so you can't whistle. But you can go here. So choose your noise anyway. Choose a unique sound that would be something that you can use. And the really important thing is, do not overuse this. So what you're going to do for 28 days, because that's as long as it takes muscle memory and brain synapses to develop, you are going to use that sound every single time you feed your dog. So literally, as you're putting the food down, you're making that sound. Don't use it at any other time, and don't be tempted to use it in that first 28-day period, because if the dog ignores you, then you're going to have to go back to square one and find a completely different sound again. So you need to make sure this is absolutely embedded in the dog's hindbrain. It's a very simple way of thinking about it, but I'm not a brain surgeon, but you know, this is how muscle memory works. So that's your first thing. 28 days, absolutely rigidly, and then you start taking it out, maybe to the park, no distractions at first, just, that. Now, the second part to this is your body language, and it's really imperative. I'm going to try and show you, I'm not much good at these selfie videos, but I'm going to try and show you what most people do. Most people kneel down and they're calling their dog and they're holding their arms out and they're saying, come on, that's great. Well, the problem is with that is that you've got two problems. Firstly, you're leaning towards your dog, which actually puts the dog in defense, because leaning towards an animal, leaning over an animal, sends it away effectively. So your voice is saying come here and your body's saying stay away. Then you've got your arms outstretched, which effectively means I'm coming to catch you. And the third thing is what I call the crazy lady face, which is yeah. And actually that's quite a hostile look. What I do is, particularly with puppies, I can't show you now because if I crouch down on the ground, I'll disappear. But it's basically crouch down, turn myself slightly sideways here and bring the puppy in, or bring the dog in, with lots of happiness and lots of joy. As, what was it, Mary White, not Mary Whitehouse, who am I thinking of? Barbara? Oh, you know who I mean anyway. She used to say, make much of your dog. This was after she'd probably pretty much lashed it with a choke chain, but she always used to say, make much of your dog. And that's really, really important. I spoke to somebody yesterday who was trying to get their dog to come to them with lots of activity, and then she was saying, stop and sit, break it down, don't try and join things up together before you've even got one sorted out. This is purely at this moment, this is just about recall. This is not about coming in straight to recall. This is not about anything else but coming to you. So make sure you stand back, lean back a little bit, bring your dog into you, lots of happiness, and yeah, that would work. So 28 days, unique sound. Afterwards, it's up to you whether you choose to use food or a toy is great. It doesn't have to be just given to them. It could be on a ball on a rope and it could be thrown away as soon as they come towards. The 2-ball trick is great because you have one ball dangling and the dog is coming back to you with the ball in its mouth, and it drops that ball and it takes this ball, and that's a great swap over game. I tend not to use food for my recall, only because if I'm trying to get my dog back and it's chasing after a rabbit or whatever it may be, a little bit of food of whatever value it is not high enough to bring my dog back from that level of prey, basically. So I think, where are we up to? Oh my God, I've been talking for 8 minutes and I thought I would do this in about 3. I think that's all I've managed to cover. As I said, I'm not scripted on these things. Body language, unique sound, do not overuse it. Do not let the children use it because they will overuse it. This is purely bring your dog back and make much of it. And then later on, when you're in the park, again, don't use it too much. Just always make a lot of your dog. And yeah, I've talked too much already. I hope it's been helpful. Maybe I haven't done it quite right, but it's the best I can do. Okay, take care. Bye.